Well, thank you for coming today. We wanted to just provide an opportunity with the hope that, a good amount of the property that we've recovered here over the last several months can be returned to its rightful owners. Beginning in early 2009, investigators from a variety of units in the St. Paul Police Department began the process of investigating an active burglary ring that was operating in St. Paul and throughout the Twin Cities metropolitan area. The result of that investigation was the seizure and collection of a host of suspected stolen property from across the metro. This property was obtained through the execution of approximately a half dozen search warrants, again, across the metro area. Some of the property has been returned to the rightful owners to the extent that investigators have been able to connect the property that was recovered with open cases. As you can see, an estimated 500 items remain in our custody, in our possession, and particularly at this holiday season, we would like to get some of these items of great value, both economic and perhaps sentimental, back to the rightful owners. Many of the items that were seized are quite unique and are items that investigators believe will be something that the owner would be able to easily or quickly pick up. As I mentioned, the case is ongoing, and this investigation is ongoing, so there's going to be a limited number of details we can share about that, given the fact that there are elements of this investigation that have been occurring up until very recently. Most of the items that are here were seized prior to March of 2009. However, some of the items were obtained in search warrants that were some of the items were seized that are here were obtained in search warrants that were executed within the past month. So some of this, the majority of this is from early in 2009. A limited amount of the property was obtained within the last month or so. There is an investigator is here who can give perhaps some limited information about the investigation. If there's an interest in that, we won't be able to identify suspects at this point in time. But we certainly would encourage and welcome people to photograph the items. We have identified a process for people who believe that these items may belong to them and have provided an email address for people to provide information to investigators along with a phone number. In addition, today, as the media is being allowed to photograph these items, investigators are also photographing each item. The ultimate plan is in the coming weeks that those items will be cataloged and placed on the St. Paul Police Department's website so that owners can look at the items and ascertain whether or not they believe they are theirs, and then would be required to provide the case number and the agency report where the burglary or theft occurred, providing that information so investigators can connect the dots and get the property back.
A lot of these things look really deeply personal, the dolls, the older things. What do they seem to be? Is there a kind of victim they represent?
Investigators indicated that in some instances they determined that some of the property may have been taken from homes where there were estate sales that were planned, people who had recently moved out of their longtime residences and into assisted living facilities. So many of these items probably do have significant sentimental value.
Can you talk about the more pricey? Is it the pricier items?
The items really run the gamut. There's certainly a lot of coins, a lot of some paper bills, unique bills. This bicycle, I'm told, is an English bicycle that has a fairly high value. There's an old original Marilyn Monroe Playboy that was published in the 60s that's here. And again, many of these dolls may be antique. Much of the furniture is likely antique and could be of great value.
What is the key thing? Do they have to file a report before about the missing items?
What becomes important is that obviously, we want to make sure that the rightful owners have the opportunity to claim their property. The expectation is that those items would have been documented in a police report in whatever jurisdiction the victims resided in, and we will, the investigators from St. Paul, but we'll be working with investigators from the agency where the report was made to make the connection and get the property back.
If you don't locate the owners, will this be auctioned?
Ultimately, what happens is the property does get auctioned.
And what if they didn't fill out a police report?
Those do become issues. It's obviously important that people do that, but all of this is related to, and the vetting process is related to an investigation. Even if somebody makes a report now because they see something that belongs to them, there still would be an investigation process. They won't just be able to walk in and get the item.
Are there any particular jurisdictions where most of the burglaries happen?
I'm going to let Sergeant Ferroni talk a little bit about kind of where some of the burglaries may have taken place.
Through our investigation, most of the burglaries occurred in St. Paul in the East Metro area.
Can you tell me what was sort of how do they operate? How do you go out with China and an addition, a new base and a bowl? I mean, do they back up a truck, or how do they go about taking these things?
Yeah, most of the stuff that was taken, they used a vehicle to go up to the house and then load the stuff up into pickup trucks and then haul it out. Some of the houses that they victimized were vacant houses where elderly people had moved on to assisted living, and they targeted those specific homes.
Where do they try to unload this, try to sell the stuff or whatever it takes?
That I can't talk about because it's part of our investigation. They did unload a lot of stuff to various places that we do know about, but I just don't want to talk about that right now because it is an open investigation.
Why would you steal a bunch of dollars?
Some of these dolls do have value. I'm not an antique or anything like that, but I think people do look for these on eBay or on some of the websites, and they do hold some value. And I think that their thought process was they would take anything that was of value in a home that they could sell.
Any advice to people out there who may avoid becoming a victim of this kind of thing? What steps can you take?
One of the most important things is write down serial numbers of any valuable items that contain serial numbers. Photograph any items, especially antique items. Some of this stuff doesn't have serial numbers. The antique items, the dolls, of course, wouldn't, but take photographs of it and store the photographs in a safe place. So if you are a victim of a burglary, investigators can go back and look and have that information for reference if we do recover any items.
So how many burglaries does this comprise?
Several. Several. We know of several. That I can tell you that what we know of is over 10.
Over 10?
Over 10.
How many different burglary rings, over 10? How many different groups of, perpetrators?
I can tell you that there are several suspects that were involved in this ring. It wasn't just one person, it was several.
Do these individuals have a past history of law enforcement in this type of field?
Yes.
Can you just say how they knew to target these houses? Were they advertised that there were going to be a statesman?
That I can't talk about the particulars of how they knew that. That's still part of the open investigation.
So if somebody sees something, wants to claim it, is this stuff still being used in evidence for trials, or can they get it, if they have the information, can they get it soon?
Yes.
So it's not being saved for evidence?
Correct.
And I know, I think Paul had said that the search warrant, most of the things were taken before March. If you have any range, like would it have been some of the burglaries when they go back to 08, or do you have any time?
I don't. Some of the burglaries that we know that they do go back to 08, late 08. Specific dates, I would probably say around the fall time, right around there. Most of this stuff is from prior to early 09. We do have some items, like the Playboy here. This is one specific item that was taken. I do want to point this out. It's a first edition Playboy, Marilyn Monroe, and I think the year on this one, I think it was sometime in the 50s, early 50s possibly. But these are some of the items that were taken. A lot of sports memorabilia, coins and everything. So
this one has an address on it. Why wouldn't you guys just try to contact the person living there?
That's the address where some of the stuff was recovered.
How many individuals are involved in this? More than 10?
I can say over 5. Over 5 individuals that we know that were actively involved in this.
How did you kind of put it all together? Did you just start getting calls from everybody having estate sales that their stuff was gone, or how did it sort of?
That's part of that. I don't want to talk about how we investigated this and open that up. Just through a lot of investigation, a lot of hard work by a lot of different officers, a lot of different units worked on this. And we were able to compile enough probable cause for the search warrants and to get some charges
Have
up.
you been already able to return stuff to people? These
Yes.
Stuff you just couldn't get back.
No, we were able to return a lot of antique furniture back to the rightful owners.
So this is what I can't.
This is what's left over, correct?
How usually burglars kind of target TVs and computers and things like that? How unusual is it that they're taking dishes and statues?
It is a bit unusual. TVs and electronic items usually have more street value, and it's easier to get rid of. Antique items are a little bit harder, but they do have value. And some of the stuff, from what I've been told by some antique dealers, does have value. And that's just what they were into, was the antique stuff. It was an easy crime to commit, going into a vacant house and stealing stuff because there was nobody living there. And it's harder to trace, because a lot of people do write down the serial numbers of their electronic items, and we can trace those.
Going through all this, and you're like, what the hell did you steal this for?
I've thought that many times. You look around at some of this stuff, and it's like, wow, and a lot of this stuff has a lot of sentimental value to people. And if my grandmother had owned some of this stuff, and it was, I don't want to get it back. It's part of a family. It's part of a family history. Some of this stuff, especially the antique furniture and some of the old lamps and dolls. So hopefully we'll be able to get this stuff back to the families.
Can you kind of characterize the suspects a little bit? Were these guys educated in antiques, or were they sort of your casual, we'll just take it?
I can't discuss that part of that either. Sorry.
Was all the stuff recovered at one location or several locations?
Several locations.
On the east side?
It was some in St. Paul, some in the East Metro area.
So East Metro, not necessarily the east side of St. Paul.
No, the East Metro area.
Will you keep it before you sell it to whoever, or how does that work?
Paul, maybe you could answer that one.
The items will be kept for a good period of time, obviously, because of the fact that this remains an ongoing investigation. Today, investigators are going to be photographing each of the items so that they can be posted on the web. In addition to the fact that it was opened up to have you come in and get the information out to the public. It will be held for a good period of time. The exact period of time we don't know. Some of that will be dependent upon the progression of the investigation. After the closure of that case, then generally speaking, it's between 30 and 90 days, between 60 and 180 days that the property is kept before it can be moved to auction.
I would think a lot of the elderly victims aren't going to be the people who can reach directly on the website. So you're hoping if they have kids or grandkids or people that might be
We're hoping
access to that?
we're hoping that family members of some of the elderly victims recognize some of these items, will come forward and say, hey, that was mine. My mother or grandmother was burglarized, and we have a police report. We can identify it that way.
When does it go up on the website?
We anticipate that the items will be posted on the website within the next 3 weeks. Obviously, it's a fairly detailed process. We want to not only have the photographs up there, we want to categorize the items kind of as being similar. So all the dishes would be posted, the coins would be posted together so that it becomes a little bit easier for people to go through and search.
So by mid-January?
Yeah, we hope by mid-January that we would be able to have all the items posted up on our website.
So you just decided to do it now? I mean, there's no sort of, Christmas tree present thing going on?
No, well, what was certainly, we started, it has been something we've been planning, but we certainly would hope that, given the fact that some of these items are of value, that maybe as a holiday gift, this would be an opportunity for somebody to say, at least know that their items are here and that they can be obtained and brought back into their family.